Kantian Ethics, a cornerstone of modern moral philosophy. This video explores Kantian ethics, a cornerstone of modern moral philosophy. It delves into Kant's core ideas, examines key criticisms, and considers the enduring relevance of his thought. Kant was a prominent Enlightenment thinker who sought to establish a universal and rational foundation for ethics. Disturbed by the destructive force of religious conflict, he believed reason, a universal human faculty, could provide a more stable and harmonious basis for morality than faith. Kantian ethics emphasizes autonomy, the capacity of individuals to govern themselves through reason. He rejected the notion of externally imposed moral laws, arguing that true morality stems from individuals autonomously adopting universal moral principles. This shift towards individual agency was a significant departure from traditional, authority-based moral systems. Kant's ethical framework stands in stark contrast to Hume's empiricist view, which denied the objective existence of moral good and evil, reducing them to subjective feelings. Kant countered this by asserting that reason, like in mathematics and physics, can uncover universal and objective moral laws. Central to Kantian ethics is the concept of the good will. Kant argued that the only unconditionally good thing is a good will, which involves acting out of duty for duty's sake, regardless of personal desires or potential consequences. For example, a shopkeeper who honestly serves customers out of a sense of fairness possesses a good will. In contrast, a shopkeeper who acts honestly solely to attract more customers while adhering to the same external behavior lacks a good will. Kant distinguished between hypothetical imperatives, which are conditional, if you want X then you should do Y, and categorical imperatives which are unconditional, you should do X. Moral laws, according to Kant, must be categorical, applying universally to all rational beings regardless of their individual desires or circumstances. Hypothetical imperatives, being dependent on individual desires, cannot form the basis of universal morality. Kant formulated the categorical imperative in three ways, all of which aim to identify actions that are morally permissible. Act only according to that maxim by which you could at the same time will that it become a universal law. This principle requires that actions be permissible only if they could be consistently willed by all rational beings without contradiction. Contradiction in conception. Actions that, if universalized, would lead to a logical contradiction, e.g., lying, are impermissible. Contradiction in will. Actions that, while logically possible to universalize, would contradict our rational will to achieve our own ends, e.g., always refusing help, are also impermissible. Act in such a way that you treat humanity, whether in your own person or in the person of any other, always at the same time as an end, and never merely as a means. This principle emphasizes the inherent dignity and worth of all rational beings. It forbids using others solely to achieve one's own goals. This formulation envisions a hypothetical kingdom of ends, where all rational beings act as both ends in themselves and as legislators of the moral law. Kant argued that reason alone can determine moral obligations. However, he acknowledged three postulates necessary for a coherent moral framework. God, to ensure justice in a world where virtue and happiness do not always coincide. Immortality, to allow for the ultimate reward of virtue in an afterlife. Free will, to hold individuals accountable for their moral choices. Critics argue that Kantian ethics may lead to irresolvable conflicts between duties. For example, the duty to defend one's country may clash with the duty to care for a sick family member. Kant attempted to address this by distinguishing between perfect duties, which have only one way of fulfillment, and imperfect duties, which allow for multiple means of fulfillment. The classic example of a murderer seeking the location of their victim highlights a potential conflict between the duty to tell the truth and the duty to protect innocent life. This scenario challenges the absolute nature of the duty to tell the truth. Consequentialist theories such as utilitarianism emphasize the importance of consequences in moral decision-making. Kant's focus solely on duty and intention, while disregarding consequences, is a significant point of contention. Kant downplayed the role of emotions in moral motivation. However, critics argue that emotions such as empathy, compassion, and love are crucial for virtuous action. The concept of universalizability has been criticized for its limitations. Some maxims, while logically possible to universalize, may not have significant moral implications. Conversely, some morally objectionable actions may not be easily ruled out by the universalizability test. Philosopher Philippa Foot argued that Kant's claim that it is irrational to disobey categorical imperatives lacks sufficient justification. She drew parallels between moral imperatives and rules of etiquette, suggesting that obedience to both might be a result of social conditioning rather than genuine rational insight. Kantian ethics, with its emphasis on reason, autonomy, and universal moral principles, has profoundly influenced modern thought. While facing significant challenges and criticisms, its core ideas continue to stimulate debate and inform contemporary ethical discourse. Kant's emphasis on individual dignity and the importance of treating others as ends in themselves has had a profound impact on human rights theory and international law. Despite its limitations, Kantian ethics provides a valuable framework for critical reflection on moral issues and the ongoing pursuit of a just and equitable society.